a conditional proof is required with this example. We want to prove a conditional within a conditional, so to speak. We have this if P, then if R, then U. We have a single premise, which happens to be a conditional. And if you think about it, that conclusion does follow validly from that premise. We have this antecedent to a conditional. If P is the case, that kicks in. We have this conditional here. If R is the case, that kicks in, and then we can get that U. So it definitely looks valid. But let's prove that step by step. And like any good conditional proof, we will assume that antecedent, so P by assumption. And like any good assumption, we'll place it under quarantine. But here, we're going to have to do an assumption within an assumption. In fact, it is required, so we're going to assume that R. So R by assumption. And then hopefully, we'll be able to arrive at U, because if we do that, victory is assured. Because then we can say, based on the assumption of R, we get U, so if R, then U is true. But remember, we also made that assumption of P, so it would follow that if P, then if R, then U. All right, so what can we do? We have P by assumption, R by assumption. This antecedent is a disjunction, P or Q, so let's just put P in a disjunction with Q. So for line 4, get P or Q by the law of addition. Line 2, and then we can get that consequent by modus ponens. So for 5, we can get if R or S, then T and U, modus ponens, lines 1 and 4. Well, we have this R or S as the antecedent to a conditional. Here's R, so let's do the same kind of thing. We'll just say for line 6, R or S by the addition law or addition rule, line 3. And then for 7, we could affirm that antecedent to get that consequent. So we can say T and U by modus ponens, 5 and 6. For 8, let's just do the commutative rule to get U and T. So the commutative rule, line 7. And then for 9, we can get U by the simplification of 8. And so, based on this assumption R, we can get this U. So for 10, but we're still inside quarantine, really. We can say if R, then U, because we have a conditional proof, lines 3 to 9. But then, based on this assumption to P, we're able to get this result, if R, then U, so outside of quarantine. For line 11, we can say if P, then, parentheses, if R, then U, by our conditional proof, lines 2 through 10. And so, we have arrived at our desired conclusion.